Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Mike Fitch with the Ohio LTAP Center here at ODOT, and we appreciate your participation. As we get started, please take a moment to locate the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. During the presentation today, please use the questions box to send in any questions you might have, and we will discuss most of the questions at the end of the presentation. With that, we will go ahead and turn things over to Lynn Stevens. Hello.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. Again, my name's Lynn Stevens. I'm with our newly named Small Business and External Workforce Development Division. As you know, as you may know, we were formerly named ODI, so we underwent a name change recently. And we have a new deputy director as of Monday of this week, Ms. Deborah Green. Um, and as you may recall, Lauren Purdy was our deputy director for the past 10 years. So Deborah Green is our new deputy director, and we still have 3 offices under our division. So I'll just go a recap just really quickly. So our first office is the Office of Small Business Services, led by Deborah Green. So she's playing double duty right now. She's administrator of that office, and she handles, her team handles SBE, DBE certification. They handle the reporting requirements to the USDOT for our DBE program. They set the EDGE and DBE goals on our projects, and they oversee good faith efforts when those are submitted. DBE supportive services for our DBE certified firms are also under Deborah's office. And then on the job training program is also under Deborah Green's jurisdiction. The second office is our Office of Contractor Compliance, led by KT LaPlace. She's administrator, and they handle all things related to prevailing wage, certified payroll, prompt payment, CUF, or commercially useful function, the Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and then Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and then Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Services Act. And then our Office of Outreach, we are the outreach arm of the division. We hold lots and lots of events and webinars, and just we meet one-on-one with businesses as well to let them know about doing business with ODOT. Maybe they're having trouble. Maybe they want to see if they can do business with other agencies beside ODOT. So we help be a resource for our businesses that we're serving. And again, webinars, workshops, and events. So with that as our overview, I'll turn it back over to Jason, my colleague, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of our new Deputy Director, Deborah Green, welcome. Today is going to be a webinar consisting of the new affirmation form that is being rolled out as of Proposal Note 13 is going into place. Again, my name is Jason Steen. I am one of the goal attainment coordinators for the Department of Transportation out of the Office of Small Business Services with the Division of Small Business and External Workforce Development. However, before we get started, let me go ahead and throw this disclaimer out there. This webinar is for informational purposes only. If anything said or implied in here contradicts the proposal note, the proposal note will prevail. With that being said, what are we here for? We're going to explain the new affirmation form and how to use it. Basically, we're going to work through some examples and understanding the do's and the don'ts and what is the proper way and how you can obtain all the information you need for this. As Mike said, we are going to take the questions at the end, but I am going to answer some random questions that we received during the testing phase. So with that in mind, the person that is responsible for filling out this affirmation is going to be the apparent low bidder who is going to be awarded the job. They are the lowest bidder, just as you would for the normal affirmation form as in PDF paper. If you have a DBE that is working on the project, but they're not for goal, we would still like you to submit the affirmation form. It is preferred. It is not required by the proposal note, but it is preferred. Please keep in mind that this form is not due until the bid opening has been completed. 5 days from that date is when you would submit, or before, between the bid opening and the 5 calendar days is when this affirmation form is due. It is not a rush before bid opening to submit this form. You can save the form for later use if you copy the link and save it. So just please keep that in mind. It is a feature that FormStack has, and that is what we're going to be using for the information to be filled out. What happens if you enter the wrong affirmation code? You're going to just need to update the affirmation form. You'll resubmit the affirmation form using the updated version feature. What if the DBE is used twice on the project? For example, you are the prime using a DBE supplier and you have a subcontractor who is also using a DBE supplier. You would need to fill both. You would need to fill out this affirmation twice for that company. And you'll understand why as we go through this form. Will we count excess DBE payments toward the goal as long as there's not a change in the scope of the DBE's activities? For example, everything is following under the NICS codes that were provided. Affirmation form can be located on our ODOT's website. You can go to https://www.transportation.ohio.gov working external workforce forms. You can also locate it in the search feature. However, I will tell you, it would probably be beneficial for you to split your screens to follow along as we're going through this information so that you understand where we are at and when I'm explaining the form process. So I'm going to give probably about 5 to 10 seconds in case you want to pull that up or copy and use that link there to try to find that form. Maybe a little bit longer than that would probably be beneficial. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. While I'm going through this, we're not going over the affirmation form just yet, so if you're still trying to access that information, maybe one of my colleagues could drop it into the chat of where the form is on our website so that you can also click on that link. The goal of the affirmation form, as many of you know, memory fades faster than paper. So we always try to make sure the affirmation form is as accurate as possible, because this project may be a 3-year project and you filled out this form at the beginning of the project. We still use that form multiple times throughout the project. So we have to make sure that that information is good throughout the project, and we don't want to keep asking the same questions over and over and over. Also, the new affirmation form decreases the turnaround time because it's an email form. It gets emailed to everyone. You fill out the information, it gets emailed to the DBE, and from the DBE approval, it comes, all 3 of us get it at the same time as a completed form, which is nice compared to the previous or the current one that we're using. Also, the information is more accurate and completed, and it's staying within compliance of the federal regulations. They are asking for more data than what we have been asking for, so trying not to push too much of the burden that the federal government is requesting onto our work partners. But yet we are still making sure we have all the information we need just a comparison here. The old form was in PDF. This one is going to be online only. The old form, you had to fill in those percentages. I know just a couple hours ago I had to send an affirmation form back because somebody put 108% on the affirmation form. The new form is going to calculate it for you. We also had some questions that were out of order. The new form is going to be based upon your answer as whether the next question is applicable or not. We used to have to, you'd have to fill it out, send it over to the DBE, have them fill it out, then send it back to you. And it's easier for us and for you. You answer the questions, you send it over to the DBE, and we move on. A lot of times we had a lot of duplicate affirmations coming on projects because, hey, we needed to update an affirmation because such and such is going to be doing additional work. We have a tracking system on the new affirmation form, which keeps us the ability to track the flow of additional new affirmations coming in. So that is another nice feature here. The forms section itself is broken out into your basic information about the project, your prime bidder's information, the DBE's information, subs of DBEs. So if you're the prime and you're subbing to a DBE who is also subbing, there is a place on there. NICS codes, work performed by the DBE, and it's going to give you a breakdown of what we're looking for as far as your contract amounts when we're reviewing your contracts that are being sent in before you start working on the project. The other is going to have a manufacturer supplier details. It's going to be basically the federal government came to us and said, hey, we need this form filled out in some form. You're going to be, if it's a supplier, if some manufacturer, supplier, regular dealer, distributor, there's questions that have to be answered and be included into the affirmation, and we will get into that details anymore. Also, both parties will have to acknowledge the affirmation form and make sure that they understand that what they are agreeing to here as well. Just page 1 of the affirmation, you're going to be looking at an affirmation type. You're going to have new, a continuous, revise, or an update. Please note that continuous, revise, and updates are going to require a confirmation number or an affirmation ID number, which was provided when you selected the new affirmation. Project numbers and PIDs, we're going to use the project number for ODOT. At this moment, we are not implementing the new affirmation form for local-let. Let me rephrase that, say that again. Local-let will stay on the PDF version. Once it does get rolled over, you will use the PID number in place of the project identification number. You're also going to supply the letting date, the goal percentage, and what your bid amount is, just like you did in the previous PDF form. The parent load bidder is going to provide the company's name, which is you as the prime bidder, contractor, your contact name, your email, and your phone number. The relationship to your DBE, are they your direct sub or are they a sub of one of your subs? Page 3 is going to be the DBE's information. Excuse me. Company's name. We need to know who the DBE is, their address, and that information will be found on the Unified Certification Program website. It would be beneficial for you to have that website pulled up as you're filling out this form, and as I will demonstrate later on as to what the benefit is, and it serves as a dual purpose. We also need the contact person. It does not have to be the president. It could be the person that you are having the contact with, getting the quote from, an email address, and a phone number. There is times that we have to get clarification on some materials or descriptions, and we will reach out to them. The supplier code is used only for DBE suppliers that you are using on the project. They will provide you a form with your quote prior to bid opening that you will need to hang on to should you become the lowest bidder and potentially awarded the job. So when you're filling out the affirmations, you know what material and at what rate you're going to be supplying. It is an 8-digit code that is provided on the form, and we will go into an example of that later. However, if you are a DBE today with us, joining us, watching this, there is a presentation next week solely for the DBE suppliers so that they understand how the DBE supplier material form works. Page 4 is going to be your subs of your DBEs. Will the DBE contract any of its work out to another sub? This is very rare that we have seen, but it has been seen. It's the entire contract line. Is the DBE contracting all of that line item out to somebody? For example, you have DBE is going to be doing pavement markings, and you're also in your contract as a prime awarding to DBE pavement markers removal. The DBE does not have the codes for that. They're going to be subcontracting this out. So what you're going to be doing is subcontracting the work to the DBE is going to be subcontracting the work to another firm. That is what we're talking about, is the entire line item is going to somebody else. That's where that information. Also, maximizing unexpected deductions. This form will minimize unexpected deductions to help you understand exactly how much credit you're going to be receiving toward the goal as well. Real quick, we had a question come in. Are you referencing the new form? The form is in the download, is the original PDF. Hey, Mike, can you help me out here with, it looks like it's going off screen for me.
Hi, the question is, are you referencing the new form? The form in the download is the original PDF. I would like to see the form while you are describing.
So in the middle of the page, the new affirmation form is located, is where you're going to be able to find the new affirmation form. It's for any projects sold after June 12th of this year, is where you're going to find the link to the new affirmation form.
So don't click on the download button. Just look at where it says for project selling in the June 12th, 2025 letting and later. There's a link to the new DBE affirmation form. That's what we're talking about today.
So let me just back up for everyone, and let me just go to, let me just pull up and show everyone where we're talking about here. Bear with me just a second here.
Is it a form stack form?
It is a form stack form, yes.
Okay, somebody just shared a direct link. I'll send that out through the chat also.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That would
Thanks.
So if you're using the link that was provided on the screen, you're going to come down to our forms. going to go to the second one. You're going to click on the DBE Affirmation Form. It's going to be located here for projects selling in the June 12th letting or later. You'll be clicking on this link here, which is going to open up the form for you. And this is what it looks like as you're following along. So I'm going to jump back over to where we were. So page 5 is going to be the next codes. Will any of the DBE's work be classified in the next codes or the NICS codes in which the DBE is not currently certified? Most of the time you will not use this. However, there is a few DBEs that as they progress in the program, they start losing some of their NICS codes, which is a good thing. However, we still encourage you to use them for the work. We just need you to state, hey, they're going to be performing some work that they don't have the NICS codes for. And it reduces the incorrect reporting to the federal government, and make sure that we don't give credit that is not due for that. Page 6 through 12 is going to be participation types, and this is where it's getting into what is the actual DBE is doing. Are they a subcontractor, trucking, manufacturer, regular dealers, brokers, and so on? We want to know what the work is. It is a pre-filled box. You can type it in. Again, it's useful to have that UPC website available up in the description of the work. Most of the time, you're going to be able to explain the work that they are performing by the definition of the NICS code. You can just copy and paste. And again, we are going to go through some examples on this as well. The DBE's work will be, if you remember, we have those 3 percentages on the old form. Well, it's going to be changed. It's going to be self-performed. They're going to be performing the work self-performed, but not toward the goal. This is where they are performing the work, but you don't want credit because maybe some of the work is over and beyond the percentage of the DBE goal or the contract goal. So you just want to hit it at 9%. If that's what the contract goal is, but the extra work that the DBE is performing is going to put you over 9%. That's where that information is going. If the DBE is not self-performing, but if it's not being performed by the DBE, but they have the NICS codes to perform this work, you're going to make sure you're filling this out and they're saying that they are subcontracting to somebody else. That is something very important. Again, it's making sure that we don't report any inaccurate data to the federal government, and also making sure that you are getting all of the credit that you deserve as far as participation credit. Commodity, this is going to appear if you select trucking or bulk only. Basically, in the old form, it asks you on page 1, question 1 and question 2, where are they going? What are they delivering? Are they purchasing it? How many trucks? Page 2, it asks you 2 more questions. And then finally, you're going to get to, do you have more work to enter? So if that DBE, for example, is going to be doing concrete work and they're also doing asphalt work, you're going to select yes. That is a change of NICS codes, and so you're going to have more work for them to be put in there. And you're simply just going to enter that NICS code. And if there's a change in participation type as well, again, that it correlates both with the NICS code. Could also be they're trucking and they're doing concrete work. So just keep that in mind. Any type of change of work or NICS code, you're going to need additional work to be entered. Page 15, I know it sounds like a lot of pages, but keep in mind page 15 may also be page 6, depending on how many DBEs that you're entering. This is a breakdown of everything that you've entered. This should match what is on your sub-agreement. So if your sub-agreement is for $15,000, we are looking at your affirmation for $15,000. So same thing on the old form, page 2, total agreement amount should have always be what was in your total contract amount as well. Percentage not self-performed by the DBE must be less than 70%. This is very rare that we ever see this, but please keep in mind if your DBE is not performing 70 or at least 30% of the work that you are assigning to them, we cannot count anything if it falls under that number. So they must perform at least 30% of the work on the contract. So please keep that in mind. So we are going to break into, at this point, I am going to take questions before we jump in. If there is any questions pending, Mike?
Let's see. I think the most recent questions were regarding the form stack form. Don't think there's any additional questions at this time.
Okay, so example one is going to be a very straightforward project, a typical affirmation form. Bids are going to open on November the 25th, 2024. Project number is 250999. The goal is 10%. Total bid amount is $80,000 for the project. Our DBE is going to be Buds. Congratulations. If y'all didn't know, Buds is famous, having John Dutton from the Yellowstone. Sorry, favorite show. They are a direct sub. And their email address is going to be listed as DBE goal attainment at DOT, because we're going to walk through that. They are a subcontractor is the type of work they are performing. The work they're performing is flexible paving and maintenance of traffic. Their quote that I received was $8,500, and they're being used toward the goal for $8,500. So Buds is going to be supplying and installing flexible paving at $3,500, and the cost of maintenance of traffic is $5,000. So with that being said, we are going to go over to the affirmation form. I'm going to pull up the affirmation form, and I'm also going to pull up the DBE Unified Certification Program, and we're going to put Buds in here because we're going to need to know what is Buds NICS codes for these types of work. So first, we know this project is going to be letting supposedly after June 12th, 2025. ODOT must receive this form signed by both parties within 5 days of the bid opening. The form must be submitted by each DBE that appears on the utilization plan. The DBE named on the form must appear in the utilization plan, and the amount on the form must not be less than the utilization plan. Not filling out the form correctly could lead to finding you as listed as non-responsive. It is our goal not to do that. We never want to list somebody as non-responsive. We are going to work with you as best as we can. However, if you run into an issue, it is better for you to call us and get help than do something that we can't fix. With that being said, before you begin, you're going to need the DBE's contact information, which can be found on the Ohio Unified DBE directory. You're also going to need to know their NICS codes covering that activity. So this is a new project, and let me see if I can split this form here with us. We're just going to go with this. Example one. So we know it's a new affirmation form. We know our project number is 250999. The letting date is going to be set to we're just gonna call it let's say May the 15th of 2025. Goal percent on this is going to be 10%. And as the prime, my bid for this job was $80,000. When I talked about earlier about saving and resuming later, this is link here. I'm going to say, yes, get this link. I'm going to copy this link. And I'm going to store it somewhere else. And just keep in mind, or you can have it emailed to you. Please keep in mind that it will only save until from where you're at that point. So my suggestion is before you submit the form, please make sure you save that link if that's the feature that you're going to use at the very end before submitting or along the way. We're going to click next. We're going to type in the prime's name, and we're going to say that prime is we're going to go Shelley and Sands for today. And we're going to say my name is Jason. It is helpful if you have your auto features turned on. I'm going to use my email address here. And the person prime bidder's phone number is, we're going to use my phone number. And the scenario that was given to us is Buds is a direct sub. Should they have been a sub? Only thing it's asking is who's the DBE's parent sub. So who would be your sub to them? Its name. But in this situation, they're only a direct sub. Moving on to the next is the DBE's name. So we've got Buds. It will pre-fill their address. This is where it becomes very important for our DBE form here. Bear with me just a second. Let me get our form back up on the screen. Slide this over. If you look in the form on the certification program, it tells you what the address is. We just need something very simple, just like this. Copy paste it. Or you can type it in as well. Tab key works really great. And their zip code is there as well. Anybody, can you still not hear me? Okay. All right. So person signing on behalf of the DBE is going to be Mr. John Dutton. And his email for the purpose is going to be our DBE goal attainment email address here. Please note, anything that has a red asterisk beside it will not allow you to continue unless you fill it in. Also, you can find the DBE's phone number also on here, which is, for example, this one is 740-297-8729. Is this DBE going to be supplying any materials? No. Will the DBE contract any of its work out to another sub? In this scenario, it is a no. Will the DBE's work be classified in a NICS code in which the DBE is not currently certified in? Well, in that situation, we know that the DBE is going to be supplying and installing flexible paving and MOT. So what we're going to do here, and this is nothing new, what should be doing is they have flexible paving, they're doing asphalt, they have a NICS code for that. and they're going to be doing maintenance of traffic, which they also have an X code for. So that answer is going to be a no. So what are they doing? They're a subcontractor. Type of work we're looking for. There's two ways of doing this. You can do maintenance of traffic. Here it is, pops up. Or you can just type in the code itself, and then you can go through all of the possibilities of 238990. I prefer just typing in maintenance of traffic. It pops up, it's there. What are they doing? Essentially, maintenance of traffic. So I can go up here and I can copy maintenance of traffic. But if it's something more detailed that they're doing, please, please, please make sure that the description matches what that code is. The DBE work will be self-performed by the DBE. We are counting it toward the goal. How much is it being counted toward the goal for the maintenance of traffic? Is $5,000. Do you have more work to enter? And by the way, it tells you the amount toward the goal is $5,000. I'm going to say yes because we have Buds is installing flexible paving. We got flexible paving. I can just simply type asphalt paving and be done. They are doing it toward the goal. It's $3,500. This is how much is toward the goal. Tab is your friend sometimes. Do I have any more work? No. Then click the next page. Here's the agreement detail page. We see here the subcontractor amount is $8,500. Their total sub-agreement amount is $8,500. As the prime, my bid was for $80,000. Potential DBE credit is going to be for $8,500. Potential DBE credit percent is 10.685 of DBE credit. Nothing is being performed. Amount not self-performed by the DBE is going to be 0, and the percentage is less than 70 because it's 0. There's nothing there, so it'll be 0. Here would be your prime time of saving the form. I'm going to submit this form, and please note, if you are the apparent low bidder and you do not meet the goal at bid time, which is not required, you will have to submit good faith efforts, GFEs, documentation within 5 days of the bid opening, along with your affirmations that you are providing here. Now, where does all of this get sent to? Well, as the prime bidder, I'm going to open up my email here, and it's going to say I'm going to need to authenticate. So bear with me just for a moment. All right, so let me open up this email. Yeah, no. I'm going to open up this email. As the DBE, I was on the project, or the prime. I'm going to get a copy of my submission. I'm going to do a preview. It's everything that you typed in here. For the information, my affirmation I filled out for, all of my answers. Apologize for all of these notifications. Everything that I entered, exactly as I entered it. And the percentages, potential DBE credit for that DBE. That's just essentially a confirmation. You're going to get an email as the prime, or yes, as the prime. It says, "Hi, Jason Steen, ODOT's Bureau Office of Business and Economic Opportunity section. Please note that that is being changed. DBE Affirmation Form 250999, Shelly and Sands Buds Incorporated." I'm going to go here. I'm going to open up this form. Here's the actual physical affirmation form. It's just the information you entered previously in form stack is being transmitted into the new form of this. Everything, you need to verify everything that you entered is correct. It should be without any issues. All of the information is here. Your breakdown of your information is going to be located here. It also lists everything on all the questions potentially that you could have answered. Breakdown as well. Your DBE supplier manufacturer form will also be here, but it will be blank. You as the bidder, you're going to sign first, and it's simply just that under penalty of perjury, everything that is true and accurate, best as your ability, is here. You're going to click confirm. It's going to automatically send over an email to your DBE, that the email address that you provided on the form. So as a DBE, I am going to go and I'm going to go find that inbox. So bear with me just a second here. If I'm the DBE and I'm going to my inbox, I'm going to go pull up that email. I got the notification. Hey, great, I got the same email. I'm going to go and I'm going to see the exact same thing that I just saw, the prime saw. I'm going to be, as the DBE, verifying everything that the prime entered, making sure that that information is correct. If it is not correct, something is wrong, you can go up here and hit decline to sign. As a DBE, I will tell you it would be more preferred that you have the conversation with the prime as to what is wrong. So if, for example, Buds here is not going to be performing $5,000 in maintenance of traffic, they're going to be performing $3,500 in subcontracting some of this work out. Please have that conversation with your prime contractor before signing this. They are also going to see everything as what the prime sees as far as the DBE credit portion toward the goal and so forth. They're going to scroll down here. They're going to swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury and falsification that this information is true and accurate and complete. They're going to sign it. They're going to confirm. Then both parties are going to get a copy of the affirmation emailed to them, essentially saying, "Hi, Mr. John Dutton. Signing is completed in the affirmation." As you can tell on the email here, if I can find my mouse, apologize. This email address right here, DOT Contract Letting Manager, that is who we are going to go also get a copy of it. We're going to verify that, hey, this is on the utilization plan, it matches, and then you're going to get the usual email once we receive all of your affirmations in on the project. You can simply just go to the document, click the download documents, or you can review it, either or. And you have the form in PDF. Please please understand that we will not accept this form in a PDF version. So if you go in here and you modify or make changes to this form by removing the information and then submitting it to us via email, it will be rejected. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're going to move into some more complicated scenarios so that everybody can hopefully understand a little bit better the process. I'm going to take a pause at a moment here. Mike, do we have any questions, or anybody have any questions for us at this point?
Yes. We have a question from Therese, which is if the DBE affirmation is sent to the incorrect email address, not the person who actually approves the form at the DBE company, can the email be sent to the correct person internally? Sometimes OneSpan won't allow us to change the signing person if it is forwarded.
There's two options here. Our preferred option would be for you to go back in and do an update on the affirmation form. For an example, you can just if you're in the form, you could potentially do that. Affirmation form, you're going to pull it up because you've originally sent it to them. You're going to have that confirmation. And let me just real quick show you where that confirmation number is. So that everybody is. See if I can get back to one of those. Go into here. We'll go to review documents. At the bottom of this form is your affirmation ID number, this number right here. You can just copy that into the affirmation form. When you go here and do update, or you can do a revise, enter that number, re-enter the information, enter the correct email address. I understand that maybe we're at a time crunch and hey, we really got to get this done. In certain circumstances, yes, you could reach out to goal attainment and one of us may be able to update that. However, there is some issues that we have found using OneSpan. It does cause a mix-up, and sometimes it may or may not work. But the best method that we would refer is you just to revise the affirmation form. The next question, Mike, what you have?
Yes, we had a question from Sarah, which was similar. What if the prime makes a mistake on the form and the DBE catches it? What is the process to revise?
Again, DBE, before you sign, if there's any errors on here, before you sign it, make sure you just go up here and refuse to sign and have that conversation immediately after you refuse to sign with the prime so that they can update it and make that change. As a prime filling out this affirmation form, you're like, wait a minute, we don't get the confirmation number until the end. No, it's on your form. You can just go down here and copy it, go back in, update, or go back to your link that you saved and fill that in. Any other questions?
Thanks, Jason. I think that's all the questions for now.
Okay, so we're going to move into some more new item here is our supplier code. So as a prime, you're going to be hiring for example, we got Veach Trucking is going to be supplying and transporting liquid asphalt. So they're going to be a bulk supplier providing trucking and the hauling of this liquid asphalt. Their quote is $8,500, but you're only using $8,000 toward the goal. $5,000 is not toward the goal. Cost of the asphalt is $7,500. Trucking cost is $1,000. They're going to be providing 3 trucks for a total of 600 gallons, and they're going to be picking it up from the asphalt plant and delivering it to the job site. Okay. So let's go to our form. We're going to do new, and our project number is 250123. We're just going to say the letting date is today. Our goal is 10%. Our bid amount is for the $80,000, or our bid amount for as a prime. Our prime bidder, we're going to go with, how about the Shelley Company this time? And we're going to say it's me again as the prime contractor. And let me put my email address here. And we're going to put my phone number. And Veach is going to be a direct sub. We're going to type Veach again. And again, we're going to go back to the unified directory, and we're going to search for Veach. If you get that error message where it doesn't pop up, just refresh your page. It means you've been on it for too long. And so we got Veach here. So we got liquid asphalt wholesaling. Here's the code. They do have the code. And they're going to be trucking liquid asphalt. They have the code as well. So their address is going to be the 1072 California Pike in Beaver, Ohio. Copy paste it there. Beaver, Ohio. And our zip code is 45613. And the person signing was Mr. John Dutton again. And our email address is going to be the DBE goal attainment address. And our phone number, if it has 2 phone numbers here, just go with the first one. We just need a phone number, and it's just meeting the requirements. We just need a phone number for them. Are they supplying materials? Yes. So here's our DBE supplier code. Again, remember, they're going to be providing you, bear with me just a second while I get back here. They're going to provide you that quote prior to bid opening. That's going to look like this form right here. Here's their quote. This is a makeup quote. It's not really Veach's quote. They're going to be providing you a form that looks like this, and it's going to be the supplier code right here is these numbers. I know it's kind of small to see on here. It's also going to tell you which one you're going to be selecting for them, regular, dealer, bulk, specialty, and here's the amounts. So here is our code. I went ahead and just typed it in onto this slide so that we can reference it. So our first digit was a 3, 4, and you can tab and type it in. 1, I believe that was a 3. 1 is our next code. 4, 4, 3 is our next code. So that's essentially what you're doing for your supplier code. We're going to hit yes or next. They're not subcontracting any of their work out. Will the DBE be classified? No, they're not. They have all their codes. So we're going to be doing a bulk dealer, and we're going to do liquid asphalt, second one here. What are they doing? Providing liquid asphalt. They're self-performing it. How much was toward the goal? So the cost of the asphalt is $7,500. Okay, so we're going to say $7,500 is going toward the goal, and we're going to make all of that toward the goal. Okay, what is the commodity being trucked? Simple liquid asphalt. Will the DBE be purchasing the quantity? Yes. Pickup location, it's from the asphalt plant. To plant. Where are we taking it to? The work site. Estimated quantities with 600 gallons. How many trucks were there? There was 3 trucks. Do you have more work to enter? Yes. But do we really have more work to enter? So here's one thing that is new that you're going to need to understand. If it is a regular dealer at bulk, the trucking rate is going to be 60% for the trucking. So you're no longer getting 100% trucking cost for supply, for trucking of the supply, and 60% for the material. It is all strictly 60%. So now keep in mind, this amount here is actually not correct, because we're doing 8,000 toward the goal. We have a contract amount of 8,500. So this amount should be $8,000. But they're performing work, but we're not going to use all of their contract toward the goal. But they're still going to perform 8,500, right? So you're getting $4,800 credit, DBE participation credit on this. All of that information is entered because they are trucking. Do you have more work to enter? The answer is no. Your bulk dealer, 8,000, 5,000 is being race neutral. You have a sub agreement for the DBE for 8,500. The bid is $80,000. Potential credit is $4,800. You're at 6.0% of your 10% goal. They're not self-performing, or the amount's not self-performed by the DBE is still 0, and percentage not self-performed by the DBE is still 0, which is less than 70%. You would submit the form. And then you're going to go back through the same process. DBE is going to get the form. The prime's going to get the form. You're both going to sign it. And then it's going to come to goal attainment. We're going to review it. Okay. So for those that were in the testing phase, we did not actually give the answers to our examples. We just had them to go through it. I went ahead and pulled out the most off-the-wall, hardest contract example that we gave. So this is a sub and a sub-sub. Bids open on 11/25/2024. Project number is 250123. Goal is 5%. Bids $80,000. LMS Construction is our DBE, and this is their address. They are a direct sub. Person signing for them is going to be Jack Frost. Same email address. They're a subcontractor. Their work that they're performing is installing rebar and MOT. The quote is for $15,000. $2,500 is only going to be counted toward the goal. LMS is subcontracting $5,000 to First Star Safety. The cost of the MOT to be performed by LMS is for $7,500. All right. I'm going to let that sit in for just a second here, because this is a very tricky DBE situation. LMS is subcontracting $5,000 to First Star. So right there we have DBE is going to be subcontracting work. So now we have a prime, a sub, and a sub of a sub. The cost of MOT being performed by LMS is $7,500. $7,500 and the $5,000 does not equal $1,500. So what's going on here? So let's break this down into an affirmation as we're processing it. So let me pull up a new affirmation form. And let me just jump over here and refresh my page real quick. We're going to pull up LMS. So LMS has reinforcing steel NICS codes. They do not have the codes for MOT. Okay. So we're going to go back over here. We've got a new form. 250123 is our project number. We're going to say letting date is today. Contract goal is 10%. And $80,000 is our bid amount. Let's call this one complete general. And we're just going to enter my name again. And then we're going to enter my email address. And we're going to do my office phone number. Again, it is very helpful if your auto pre-fill is on. So once you enter this information, you're not having to go back and continuously type it. So in the example here, LMS is our direct sub. So only thing we're concerned about is our direct sub at this point. So will the DBE be a direct sub or a sub-sub? They are a direct sub. But what about First Star? They're a DBE. We're not talking about First Star yet. We're only dealing with our sub that we are subcontracting to at this point. So we're going to do LMS. There's LMS Construction. What was their address? Well, let's actually go find their address. Their address is right here. We can copy that. Go over to our affirmation form, type it in, paste it in. What city were they from? Bel Air. Ooh. Anybody else think First Prince come to mind? Our zip code for them is going to be 44390. Who's signing on behalf of them? That was Jack Frost. And we're going to use the goal attainment email address. And what was their phone number? 304. Just copy it. Go back over here, paste it in. Will the DBE be supplying any materials? No, we already did a supplier one, so I will save you from that. Will the DBE contract any of its work out to another sub? That answer is yes. What is the amount being subcontracted? Well, let's go back to the scenario. The scenario says the cost of the MOT, our LMS is subcontracting $5,000 to First Star Safety. Okay, so they're subcontracting work to First Star Safety. Doesn't tell us what work. They're just subcontracting $5,000. Will the DBE's work be classified in a NICS code which DBE is not currently certified? Yes. If you remember in the scenario, they're installing rebar and MOT. When I go look at their DBEs, they do not have MOT NICS codes. Okay? So NICS code's none. they are going to be performing MOT is being performed by LMS at $7,500. Okay. So what work are they performing on this scenario? They are installing rebar. MOT they are performing, but they don't have the NICS code, so it's installing rebar. So they're a subcontractor. We're going to do rebar contractor, installing rebar. They are self-performing toward the goal, not self-performed by the DBE. Okay. However, this amount here is going to be $2,500, but we listed earlier that the DBE is going to be they are subbing that amount out. So we've already entered that amount because they're subbing it. But that was a complete line item. So let's back up here, and this is a good example for me to show you. Will they be subcontracting any of this work out? It's the entire line item. Remember that, entire line item. So that answer should have been no. Here's one thing nice about this. If you made a mistake and you realize you made a mistake and you haven't submitted it, all of your information is saved as you're clicking. Now, once you leave the form, again, make sure you save before you exit the form. So this answer here is yes. And that answer is LMS is subcontracting to First Star Safety for $5,000. But wait a minute, First Star Safety doesn't do rebar. You're right, they do like MOT work, but that wasn't what the scenario said. LMS is subcontracting $5,000 to First Star. We didn't say what the work was, but we know our contract is only for installing rebar and MOT. LMS is performing the MOT. So process of elimination, First Star Safety is going to be installing rebar in a hypothetical situation. Please keep in mind, again, like I said, this was a really hard one that we did. So is there any more work that needs to be entered? No. Okay. Subcontracting, $2,500. They are the subcontractor. They're not performing $5,000. They're $7,500. Sub-agreement is $15,000. See, our quote was for $15,000, $2,500 toward the goal, $75,000 for work that we don't have NICS codes for, that LMS doesn't have the NICS codes for. First Star is for the $5,000. So our total sub-agreement amount is $15,000. We have an $80,000 bid. They are potential credit of $2,500. DBE percentage credit is 3.125%. They are not performing $5,000 of this contract value. It's at 33.33%. Is that less than 70? Yes. So they still get to count it as full credit. Of the $2,500, it will still be counted. So when you get into these tricky situations, starting out, this is the first time, hey, we need help, please, please, please reach out to Goal Attainment. We can walk you through this situation, tell us what the scenario is. We can help you to make sure that you don't have to go back and re-enter the form multiple times. So I am gonna, and this is where you would click to save and resume later. I'm gonna go ahead and submit this, and I'm just gonna pull up to show you exactly what this form is gonna look like when it comes to you in your email, so that everybody can see what the breakdown is and what it looks like. Complete general here, LMS, our Jack Frost, our email address, our address. Will the DBE be selling? No. Will the DBE subcontract any work for the project, not performed any of the work? The answer is no. They are performing some of the rebar. Will any of the DBE's work be classified in the NICS code in which the DBE is not currently certified? Yes. How the DBE is going to be performing 7,500. Now that DBE could subcontract that work out and not be performed, and that's where you're just going to put that amount there. Work to be performed, same as what we entered. We got the 2,500 here toward the goal. Self-performed by the DBE, not toward the goal, is here. Not performed by the DBE is the 5,000 that they are subcontracting to First Star. And our description of work is installing rebar. Same thing as before. Hey, we've got the 2,500 is what we're being used for. They are going to be self-performing without NICS code, $7,500. The 5,000 being not self-performed by the DBE. We have a breakdown totaling of 15,000 on the contract, was what our total sub-agreement amount should be with LMS. Potential DBE credit of 2,500. Our bid amount was 80,000, gives us the 3.125. Not self-performed by the DBE was that 5,000. Our total sub-agreement amount was 15,000. That puts us at 33.33%, which means that our $2,500 toward the goal will be counted. Again, if this hits 70.01 under regulations, we are not allowed to count any of the potential DBE credit. So please keep that in mind. Questionnaire, DBEs, if it was material supplier, it would be a yes, no, or a check mark in these boxes or in amounts. And then again, you're just signing this information. So with that being said, that does conclude our presentation for today. Again, here's the link to the affirmation form. We are going to provide this material to you later after today. Mike, it looks like we have a question. Can this example for LMS and its various DBE sub scenario be provided? Can you help me out with that question?
Yes. Question from Kaylee. Can this example for LMS and its various DBE subs scenario be provided as an example documented form to refer to in the future?
Absolutely. I will, when I provide this PowerPoint, I will go ahead and print out a copy of this affirmation form in PDF, and so that it's attached for an example purpose. Here is our contact information. Again, David Walker, Accountability Manager, myself as Goal Attainment Coordinator, Tia William Hayes as also a Goal Attainment Coordinator. We are both all of us is very knowledgeable in this area, and ultimately any questions should come to one of us, and for assistance as well, filling this out. Before we jump to the questions, just to keep in mind, there is some system requirements. I'm not going to go into details as to what the full requirements are. Again, we will provide this presentation as a PDF, and you will be able to go in and click through those to make sure your systems are there. So I will take any more questions. Looks like we have some more coming in there.
Yes, thanks, Jason. There was a question from Lori, and I think if you hover over the question and click on it, it will open the full question for you, so it's not truncated.
Let me see if I can. is there a way to see the completed form in PDF style format prior to submitting it, like the 5-page version reviewed for the complicated example, rather than clicking back and forth in the program? Is there a way to see the completed form in the um, unfortunately, no. And I think I understand the question. If I'm understanding this correctly, is can you preview the form as you're typing the information in before it is submitted? Unfortunately, no. That is not um, available.
People can always just do it in form stack and then generate the PDF in one span. If it doesn't look right, just decline to sign and go back to form stack. And if they've saved it, assuming right, fix it and then send it again.
Looks like we have a question here. What would be the reason you would not count all of the subcontract toward the goal? That's a good question. I can't answer that question, except for they don't have the NICS codes. That would be the reason why we would not count it. However, prime contractors sometimes do not count all of the work that they have assigned to a DBE toward the goal. Maybe they would like to use it later down the road if they have to, because the contract went up. But that's a question. It's a preference for the prime contractors.
Well, also if if they don't need to use the entire subcontract towards the goal, I mean, we do basically automatically give credit for that excess if it goes above the goal. Like if you say the subcontract was for 10,000 and you only needed 5,000 to meet the goal, so you put them down for 5, but then you paid them the actual 10. That's no problem. We'll still count it as long as that entire sub-agreement was for the work that was described on the affirmation. But if the opposite was true, you put them down for 10, but you really weren't sure that you were going to use them for the full 10. I mean, you shouldn't do that anyway, because that's really not what the program is about. But you'd have to submit a termination, potentially, if a request for consent to terminate. So by being more conservative with the affirmation amounts and the utilization plan amounts, you can avoid some of that.
So, Mike, it looks like I got all the questions answered at this point, unless you have some other questions for me.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, at this time, we do not see any additional questions. Let me mention that we will be sending out a follow-up email with a link to the PDF of today's presentation slides and also a link to the video recording from today's webinar. That follow-up email will probably be early next week. We have a few team members out of the office today and tomorrow, so we'll aim for the early part of next week to send that out to all the participants. Any final comments from the panel today?
So let's just hold off for a couple more minutes just in case somebody is typing
Sure.
some questions. But I don't have anything further for anyone. The only thing I will tell you is if you have questions or concerns or you find you need help filling out the form, please pick up the phone, call one of us. Rather us walk you through it than you have to redo the whole affirmation form again. So again, the process is supposed to be quicker. Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, on one of those previous slides, there was the contact information. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Let me jump back over here to the presentation. There we go.
Excellent. Thank you. Yep.
And feel free to practice if you want. Um, Ideally, you could use like two people in your company. One is the prime, one is the DBE, and that way you can kind of get a sense for what it looks like on both ends. If you are the prime, of course. I mean, even if you're the DBE, you can still act as the prime and then act as the DBE. Just don't use a real project number. So it's not, we don't get confused.
Mike, do we have any more questions coming in?
Question from Shauna. If we do practice, do those test runs get forwarded to ODOT?
They do get forwarded to us. And prior to the June 12th bid letting, we will delete all of the data before that bid open happens. So anything you do submit into the affirmations will be deleted. However, please keep in mind we are a public entity, so anything you submit is public record. But please, yes, absolutely, it does come to us, but please practice on this. Come up with some crazy scenarios. You can, once you submit it, be like, hey, can I run this by you? Pick up phone calls. Hey, we had this. I submitted this. Can you help look at it? Tell me what you think. And I would be more than happy to answer that question. Then 6 months down the road, you have a complicated situation and you're short of the goal or something of that nature.
I think if you put test in it, I mean, it's not really, if it's just for testing purposes, it's not really a record though that we would have to save. I mean, we're not going to, if it says test, we're not going to save it and it's basically just draft. And I will say that right now at this point, once we get those electronically signed affirmation forms, what would be record is if they're for real projects, when we enter them into Ashdoor project for like actual projects. So we're obviously, if it's for testing purposes, we're not going to be doing any kind of further entry of that information into any other system of record.
Mike, do we have any more questions coming in?
Hi, at this time we do not.
Okay. So it was nice to present this information to you. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out, contact us. And that is all we have for today. Please make sure you join us next week on the 14th for the if you are a DBE supplier or manufacturer, please make sure you do join in on that as well. That is all I have. Thank you and have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everyone.